大怪盗アルセーヌ・ルパンが残した不思議な宝物ルパンコレクションがギャングラーに奪われた。失ったものを取り戻すために戦う怪盗、世界の平和を守るために戦う警察、君はどっちを応援する？
Hello, and welcome to LupinRecap vs. PatReview, the podcast that's stirring up a storm. I am your host, Lokamasi, and with me is my co-host, Fefner Masamune.
Our mutual friend Jenner had a birthday today, and she used her power to make two people fight Magikarps in Pokemon Go. And I just wanted to mention, I feel like that's a little bit cruel, honestly. I will not do any sort of power play like that myself on my own birthday. Probably. Maybe. Anyway, hi, it's me.
Wow, way to take down our only viewer. So today we are yet again talking about Lupot. But before we get into the episode specifically, I want to talk maybe a little bit, maybe a lot bit, about how the way that fans react to character development. That might seem kind of a weird topic, especially since we already said, like, oh, we love character development. I want more character development. But what I'm getting at is the ways that, like, fans reject changes in a character. The most obvious example that I can think of is Shinji in Neon Genesis Evangelion. I'll put $1 in the mentions of Evangelion swear jar. Shinji changes a lot over the course of the show, and he gets in the damn robot quite a bit. In fact, you will find in most episodes he's in that damn robot. And yet the fans always treat him as if he was in episode 1.
Half of his problems are the fact that he is in the damn robot.
Yeah, I've seen that counter meme of, like, get in the damn robot, get out of the damn robot. It's like, Shinji just can't win.
If I go with a Fire Emblem example, I'll probably end up talking about every lord in the series and why they probably work better than most people think. Except Corrin, but, you know, that's more the fault of Fates' writing. But we're not getting into that. I'm going to go with Majin Vegeta from Dragon Ball, the other thing we talk about a lot. Because, man, I wasn't quite old enough to be, like, super observant about how people use Majin Vegeta. But my basic understanding is dudes try to be cool by, like, using Majin Vegeta as an avatar or something like that. Or, like, I've seen, like, shirts that might be a parody or might not be that use Majin Vegeta in some just, like, really edgy try-hard phrase or something like that.
Oh my god.
But yeah, just that general attitude of, like, using specifically Majin Vegeta to look cool when, like, that was the point at which Vegeta was trying his hardest to be as evil as possible because he was rejecting the fact that he could change and be a better person because that was counter to his nature. So he was really trying his best to reject that, and so he was being a tryhard, so I guess in a way it's kind of fitting.
Remember, that M on his forehead doesn't stand for Majin, it stands for midlife crisis. God, I don't even think about Majin Vegeta very often because it seems like such a weird thing for Vegeta to do. Like, I guess it makes more sense than I remember, but it's also just like, you've always been on thin ice, Vegeta. You're pushing it.
That is the point at which Vegeta was hoping the ice would break. He really wanted it. Mostly I just think about the scene after, where he admits that he never hasn't hugged Trunks enough, and then I get sad.
Yeah, that's the sort of thing about the lowest point. There's only nowhere to go but up.
Yep. And then he spends the rest of Z being great, and then in Super he's a good dad, so, you know.
Yeah, we're different in that I always liked Vegeta, but the reasons I liked him changed. Mm-hmm. And you weren't super hot on Vegeta until the Buu Saga.
Yep.
I know that the Buu Saga has its problems and is probably the weakest of the 3 sagas, but it still weirds me out when people say the Buu Saga is bad. Like, there's so much from it that, like, this is so iconic to Dragon Ball.
Yeah, there's a lot of iconic stuff. The last battle's really good. It's kind of just everything around that middle bit where everybody's fighting Super Buu.
Yeah, it's just Cell but worse.
Yep. Boo at that point's kind of boring, and nobody is successful, and it's just kind of dull and doesn't lead anywhere, so yeah. Anyway, that's Dragon Ball.
Yeah, I was trying to buy time to think of more characters to use for examples. I was trying to think of an Avatar example, but it doesn't quite work. What'll usually happen is fans will just invent things wholesale to latch onto. The reason I brought up Shinji is because his character development is the whole point of the show. So when people just push over and over Shinji's a loser who never gets any better, it's did you actually watch the show? Why are you talking about it if you don't watch it?
I mean, look, everybody says the last episode is confusing, so we can just ignore that. Therefore, Shinji never gets better. Alright, done.
He gets better the whole show.
Yeah, I can't really think of specific examples, even though it kind of happens a lot.
Yeah, this is a thing happens. There's someone our one view. Hey Jenner, right now you're probably thinking of, yep, I know exactly what character people do this for all the time. You just ignore the development they go through in the series.
Yeah, people can be kind of bad at, critical thinking at times and reading into things.
I remembered the best example. Cloud Strife.
I was literally thinking of Cloud just now, so dang.
Certified goofball and dumbass is only remembered as the try-hard edgelord he was at the start of the game.
To be fair, even Square Enix makes that mistake.
Well, you know what? Fuck them.
I will never forgive them for doing anything past Final Fantasy VII, or sequels to Final Fantasy VII, because the entire point of the ending was that it was ambiguous. It's the most important message. You can try as hard as you can to stop the end of the world, but we fucked up so much we don't know if we're going to continue existing. That's more relevant today than it was back then. How dare you add Advent children?
How dare you cater to the fans' demands and make Cloud worse? Oh, God.
And Vincent at that. I will
Hi,
stop
welcome
myself
to the rant, where we're just complaining about other things.
I will stop myself before we even touch Dirge of Cerberus, because that's got problems, and nobody's going to say that isn't true, but we should get away from that topic, since everybody does know that that's true.
These pre-episode discussions are just falling apart. I ran out of topics a long time ago, and I'm scared to change the format this far into the show. But anyways, I'll take that as a sign to get into the episode proper.
Alright, so, last time we mentioned how we'd have the same titles from this point on. I lied. One more episode with the TV Nihon title. This one is Punishment for Disobeying Orders, and I hope there's another title because that's just a sentence. You just stated what's going to happen.
The price for disobeying orders.
That's still just a sentence.
What would you title it?
I don't know, just I don't know, price on its own is alright.
Just
I don't know.
The price.
We can workshop this later. Anyway, it's a nice day as we see Sakia making his way to work when he comes across the man who is definitely not a ganglar harassing a woman.
Okay, you say definitely not a ganglar. I forget what TV Nihon subtitled it as, but in the overtime subs he says, "You're pretty hot for a human."
Yes, it's exactly the same in TV Nihon.
Okay, I forgot. I was too taken aback by his appearance when we watched TV Nihon.
Yep. So Sakia intercepts and dunks the man into a fountain for being a jackass. The man swears that he'll remember this and runs off. Sakia gets a thank you, and we cut over to Police HQ. Jim is briefing everyone on the latest problem around town. Cars around the city are randomly being cut in half. It's strange, but the footage doesn't show anybody actually doing the cutting, and Jim mentions that people reported hearing a gale beforehand, which leads the cops to thinking that it's just the wind and that this is a natural phenomenon. Yeah, you know, sometimes the wind just zandatsus specifically one car and nothing else.
Okay, so overtime didn't translate what they referred to the phenomenon as. is something like a Kamai Taichi, which is a type of yokai. It's like a weasel with super sharp claws that lives in a whirlwind. And it like slices things apart too quickly for the eye to see.
So they just thought it was a ghost instead of a hell mob.
Yeah, I guess they're just superstitious. But also, I went looking to try and find like this particular type of wind damage, and I couldn't find anything natural. But I did read about like pinhole leaks in pressurized pipes that lead to like air jets that people can't see and then will like lose limbs to.
Yeah, like wind can get pretty strong.
Yeah, I live in the Midwest. I fear the wind.
Yeah, wind will fuck you up real bad. It'll cut stuff in half. But as we'll see later in the episode, blaming it on a yokai actually kind of makes more sense.
Yeah, and also I couldn't find like examples of the natural phenomena, but I would guess that if it does happen, it doesn't look like this.
No, probably not.
Being cut into exact thirds.
Yeah, so... I mean, technically speaking, like, if ganglars exist, you can't really rule out yokai, can ya?
Mm-hmm.
Even if we haven't seen any before. Anyway, before Tsukasa or anyone else in the room can realize that that's actually kinda dumb, some guy with a newspaper barges in, calling Hilltop Hilton, and as it turns out, this guy is Deputy Commissioner Yanagami, and we can tell right away that he is the worst.
I hate him so much.
He's bad. He slams the newspaper on the table and complains that the Lupin Rangers have made the headlines once again. And on top of that, the cops currently have a low ganglar defeat success rate. Translator's words, not mine. Yanagami says that their reputation will suffer if they don't arrest the Phantom Thieves and raise the success rate to 100%. You know, the success rate that nobody in any profession has ever met anywhere.
Yeah, and like it's already sort of impossible because the Ganglars have already been killed by the Lupin Rangers. We can't get it to 100%.
Sakia mutters under his breath that they're not fighting for honor, and like a shark smelling blood, Yanagami gets on his case immediately. His casual attitude and poor dress, read his coat zippers down, looks as though they're about to get Sakia sent straight to hell, but Hilltop manages to interrupt and asks Yanagami to join them for lunch at Bistro Jour. Unfortunately, the we he uses in this case means everybody, barring Jim, of course, which also means Sakia.
Oh, God. I hate that, like, oh, I'm going to be the good boss and get my bad boss away from my subordinates. Oh, what a good idea. Let's bring your subordinates, because I'm just the worst.
Hilltop sadly leaves the room, knowing he only bought his team a little more time. Kaiichiro and Tsukasa assure Sakia that they don't like Yanagami either, but he needs to act mature. Sakia returns his zipper to its pre-Yanagami position and follows them out. Intro happens. We come back to that non-Ganglar guy from earlier making his way downtown, when he happens to see the cops entering Jour, and he recognizes Sakia right away. Seeing the opportunity for revenge, he ducks behind some cover, and to the stock sound effect of a stuffed animal, he gasp! He turns into a Ganglar! He was a Ganglar, everyone! A Ganglar who is a deep-sea diver with tentacles coming out of his helmet, which I think means he's an eldritch horror who killed a diver and took his suit, and now walks amongst us in the guise of a man. Or maybe it's just a wacky design, who knows? In Jour, Yanagami is lecturing the group on how to be good cops. Kairi seems amused at their plight, noting that he seems like a real pain. But Kairi's smiling, so it's not like he feels too bad.
Seems like a real pain. Good thing we don't have a terrible boss.
Kokore just appears from the ceiling.
You're damn right you don't. Then he goes back in the ceiling.
But in the background, we see the door open and close, but nobody walks in. Meanwhile, Kairi and Umika dish out everyone's meals, which are consommé gelée with Paris-style... Oh god, I'm gonna butcher this. Vichysse. Vichyssoise. Vichoice. I'm leaving the word. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Anybody who's French or likes that particular food, I'm sorry. It's a type of soup. That's the important thing you need to know from this. Sakuya tries to give Umika a little wave, which Yanagami sees. He instantly starts ranting, and Sakuya looks visibly upset. Suddenly, he stands up, takes his soup, and pours it on Yanagami's head. Everyone is shocked, including Sakuya, who recoils once he realizes what he just did. We'll have to show Kairi's reaction because, as we noticed in the episode, it's pretty great.
Oh my god, Kairi in this whole scene is kind of weird.
He found it funny before, but now he's just genuinely mortified.
He's like reacting, like I guess how you actually would if somebody armed with a gun started picking fights in your restaurant.
Just because it looks like a plastic toy doesn't mean you can't shoot somebody with it. We also see Tuma attempt to leave the kitchen only to be stopped by Kairi, which I can only assume means that Tuma was about to murder Sakuya for wasting food. Sakuya's subordinates yell at him, and as Sakuya tries to apologize, he decks Kaichiro in the face and headbutts Tsukasa, knocking them both unconscious. Tuma eyes Sakuya suspiciously, as he then proceeds to flip their table into Hilltop's face, taking him out too. Yanagami is, understandably, not amused, and he fires Sakuya on the spot. We then cut to the deep-sea diver who is swimming with a raincoat as he leaps back into his cover from earlier, laughing all the way. His revenge complete, he takes his human form. He doesn't quite seem to realize exactly what he's done, because he's reacting to it like it's a simple prank, not that he just took out basically the entire Pat Ranger unit in the span of 30 seconds. And I know none of them died, but I'm surprised Agranio didn't just call him down and name him successor on the spot.
Or at the very least, like, give him a call. Say, hey buddy, see you're doing really well out there.
Embarrassing the Police should at least put him on a good list.
He also got one of them fired. Like, that puts the team down a member for an indefinite period of time.
The one time Degranio's not watching this on TV.
Also, I think you mentioned way back in episode 1, like, surely one of the Ganglars runs a YouTube prank channel. We found him.
Oh my god. What happens if I cut things in half with air?
Like, comment, subscribe. Assaulting police officer prank, gone lethal.
He'll always be confused as to why he doesn't get as many views as, like, the hydraulic press thing.
He starts every video with a solid minute of ranting about the hydraulic press.
Back at Police HQ, everyone looks pretty solemn, until Hilltop and Sakuya arrive in the room. As it turns out, Sakuya barely managed to avoid getting fired, but he is going to be under house arrest for the next 2 weeks. Sakuya swears he didn't do anything and begs his friends to believe him, but they don't. And Sakuya makes the saddest noise when Tsukasa tells him that he's overworked.
Way back in, I guess, episode 3, I talked about how Keiichiro dressing down Sakuya felt weird. Mm-hmm. And it's because I was thinking of this episode. Because if you compare, like, Sakuya screwed up on the field and got yelled at for a pretty decent amount of time by Keiichiro, and compare that to now, where Sakuya literally punches Keiichiro in the face and he only yells once.
Yeah. He is pretty mad, though.
And he's very clearly, like, upset on a personal level. He's not acting as Sakuya's superior. It's like, you punched me in the face!
Yeah.
And I don't know why!
It is a good scene, though. Kaiichiro's actors I put these down. This is my chance. Kusei Yuki did some good acting. That was a good line.
Yeah, it's good that there's actually a difference between his comedic anger and his actual anger.
Oh yeah, definitely. Actually, I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, just him shouting, "Damn you, Phantom Thieves," is just taken so much differently. Sakia hands in his versus changer and badge and is told not to leave his house, or he's going to be turbo-fired for real this time. Back at Jure, Kaichiro has arrived in formal wear to give the staff the news and apologize on his behalf. He also gives them a box of everyone's Patran buns, and Tuma looks like he's about to kill Kaichiro on the spot for daring to give him what I assume is store-bought brand snacks, but tries to be polite. Umika and Kairi just look confused.
Yeah, I'm now wondering, like, if it is considered a grievous insult to give a chef, like, pre-bought food.
I don't think it would be normally, but for Tuma, I feel like it would be.
Yeah, for Toma especially.
He seems like the type.
You could have just given me ingredients, and I could have made a much better dish than this.
Though I do appreciate that, like, never once do they actually, like, make that joke, but they clearly gave his actor directions to just look a bit annoyed at it, because he does that really well.
Yeah. And Kairi and Umika are just like, they sell these? Why?
Kaichiro then leaves, and the group stares at each other awkwardly, probably because of the buns, when Goody decides to wander in. Apparently it reeks of Ganglar in the restaurant, but Tuma and Kairi deny it, claiming that they'd have noticed, and obtained the treasure of, any Ganglar that walked into Juror. But Goody is adamant that there was one there, and Tuma realizes that they can't rule out a Ganglar break-in after what happened earlier. He then asks Umika for a favor. The next day, we find Saki at home, and he has the best apartments.
I love his apartment so much.
It's so good. He's
He
got a
has,
couple
like,
of Portland pillows.
Pillows, yeah.
Forgot
Those,
the word
like,
pillow.
travel magazines. He has, like, the manliest apartment. He's got, like, model cars, a dartboard, guitars,
He just doesn't
motorcycle stuff.
He just doesn't have the bro attitude, thankfully.
Yeah, like, that honestly kind of rules. He's just into all this, like, traditionally masculine hobbies, and is not like that at all.
And of course, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention the excellent thing hanging on his wall that unfortunately we don't get to see the entirety of.
The quilt.
Life is like riding bicycle. To keep your balance, but the couch covers the rest. What does it say? I need to know.
I need to know if you share this headcanon with me. I think Sakia knit that.
I do now.
As much as I love the idea of him going into a flea market, seeing this and like, I have to have this. It's even funnier to me if he like knitted himself.
Using that famous Sakia phrase that he always says, life is like bicycle. Just every other episode, geez guys, life is like bicycle, huh? Because it's just like, Sakia, please stop trying to make that work. It's not going to.
Stop trying to make life is like bicycle a thing. It's never going to be a thing.
It will not catch on. And Kaichiro just eats sweets in the background. Sakia is bored and sad and rolls off his couch when he hears the doorbell ring. He's overjoyed to see that it's Umika here to visit him. And less excited when he sees that Kairi and Tuma are also there. Kairi then regifts the Pat Ranger buns, though I am surprised that Tuma didn't burn them overnight. Inside the apartment, the group questions Saki about what happened in the restaurant. He continues to insist that it wasn't him, and thanks to Tuma's questioning, Saki realizes that it felt like something grabbed his hand. We then cut to the Juror trio walking home. Tuma has realized that they're dealing with a Ganglar that can turn invisible. Umika wonders what the Ganglar's motives were, but as usual, Kairi doesn't care. It's the treasure that's important. Tuma, though, wonders how they can find an invisible opponent, and before we can see their speculation, we return to Sakia. Suddenly, he has an epiphany. Not only did he feel something grab his hand, but he recalls the cars that were cut in half. Sakia turns on the TV, which is already on the news. I figured that would be the channel Kaiichiro left his TV on, but apparently Sakia does too. Tsukasa, of course, would have something related to stuffed animals on, just by default. Probably an auction.
The Home Shopping Network.
Anyway, the latest report is that a fucking gym got cut in half. A gym. And for some reason, they still think it's just the wind. Saki, at least, knows what's up now. And yeah, this is why the yokai makes more sense.
This is the most bullshit thing that Wind has done since The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, sometimes translators' notes are kinda silly, but I feel they should have stuck with the yokai.
Yeah.
I get they want...
there are no translators' notes. They just said Kamai Taichi, and I had to look that up on my own.
Oh.
Figures, the episode we switched to overtime, they really let us down.
Okay, so we need a halfway where they do keep that concept because it makes more sense that there's something with intent behind this, but also tell us what that thing is.
Yeah, I don't think it's as bad as Aniki, because Aniki has a really easy translation. Whereas Kamataishi would have to be translated as, Whirlwind Weasel or something.
Yeah, no, you'd have to give it the actual name and then just do translator's note.
This is more forgivable, but it's still just come on, overtime.
Yeah.
We just started.
Translator's notes are fine if, you actually need to keep the original Japanese words and do, but they wouldn't make sense. It's not Kaikaku. You couldn't just say plan instead.
Yeah, damn it, I was just about to say, sometimes you get a really hard word, like Kikaku. Anyways.
We then find Kaiichiro and Tsukasa on the road, where they get a report of the latest incident. Tsukasa then questions if this really is a natural phenomenon, which I think you'll figure out once you learn that it was a fucking gym that got cut in half. Meanwhile, Yanagame is complaining that they're investigating the wind and not Ganglars, which, kinda makes sense since they are the unit made specifically for Ganglars. But this is Murder Wind, and I don't think other cops are cut out for this. And, Yanagami's a dick, so screw him for complaining.
Yeah, I wonder if the only reason they don't say Ganglar out loud prior to this is just so that, Yamagami isn't in on it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like Keiichiro and Tsukasa probably suspect a Ganglar.
You would hope. Jim gets a call from Sakia, who asks where Kaiichiro and Tsukasa are. It's a bad time for him to be on speakerphone. Hilltop reminds Sakia that he's supposed to be under house arrest, but Sakia requests an order to deploy because he now knows the Ganglar's gimmick. But instead of getting an order, he gets an earful from Yanagami, who basically tells him to fuck off. Whoops. Hilltop tries to reason with him, but instead he's given responsibility of keeping an eye on Sakia. Somewhere around town, Savage Ganglar has found his next target to cut. Except a squad car rounds the corner of the street, and that looks like a more fun target. He slashes the air, and a blade of wind cuts straight through the middle of the car, which is lucky because if he aimed it to the left or right, either Kaiichiro or Tsukasa would have fucking died. Less lucky for them, though, is the fact that the car fucking explodes, and then for fun Savage Ganglar cuts the explosion horizontally as well. Just to show off.
By the way, I'm still here.
I'm still here, and I can cut an explosion. Eat it, cops. Back in the apartment, Sakia is worried because Kaiichiro and Tsukasa don't know that there's a Ganglar that can turn invisible. He hears the voice of Yanagami in his head and relents from leaving. But a glance at the Pat Ranger-themed buns reminds him that his duty to his friends is more important than his job. We then cut to Sakia running down the road, where he's stopped by Hilltop. Hilltop exits his car to confront Sakia about where he's going. But Sakia says that he doesn't care if he gets fired, he wants to protect everyone. Hilltop nods and hands Sakia his versus changer, and asks him to have his partner's back. As Sakia runs off, Hilltop just nods and says he's probably going to get fired too. I do love his actor.
Yeah, Eichenwald is pretty great, and I would like to see him in more things, but I think he mainly does like I mentioned this earlier, like, yeah, Sesame Street style children's programming. Which,
yep.
I mean, Sesame Street's fun to watch. I have baby cousins, and I watch it sometimes with them. But like, I don't know if I want to watch it in another language.
Yeah.
I don't know how well the jokes would be able to translate.
We then return to today's battle set piece, where Kaichiro and Tsukasa are having a bad time. As they dodge back and forth, barely managing to avoid the wind blades, Kaichiro wonders how this could be a natural phenomenon. Gee, Kaichiro, it's strange. It's almost like it isn't, and invisibility exists and is not the most bizarre power you could have run into. But I don't know, maybe the wind just hates you today.
I will say, overtime translated as so much for a natural phenomenon. So, like, Keiichiro's like, alright, this ain't natural.
Yeah, that works a lot better. As Savage Ganglar lines up for a killing slice, he's suddenly shot from off-screen and is knocked out of invisibility. Kaiichiro and Tsukasa turn to see Sakuya, who reveals that he saw a rectangle of green light just before one of the air cuts happened. Despite the invisibility, his safe power still emitted enough light to reveal his position. I don't know how neither Kaiichiro nor Tsukasa managed to see that. It's pretty bright once we, the audience, are able to see it's there.
Yeah, I think, other than when the car was coming head-on, I guess the implication was he was attacking them from the side or behind every time?
Yeah, they were probably looking more downward, but still, I feel like glowing green light coming from nowhere would kinda draw your eye, but it's not the worst. I just think it's kinda weird.
Yeah, I also appreciate how whenever the cops have to figure out, like, the puzzle of a Ganglar, it's usually Sakuya that does it.
He's
very observant.
He is. I know we're kind of down on him, but he does figure those things out pretty well.
Yeah, we're down on him for one very specific thing. And when he's not doing that one specific thing, he's good.
Yep. Saki accuses Savage Ganglar of being the one to control him yesterday, and we get a flashback where we actually see him manipulating Sakuya, just, invisibly. Kaiichiro apologizes, and the three Kaisatsu change. They fight, and Savage Ganglar actually holds up pretty well, until Nigo gets the upper hand, which includes fucking tossing him away with his own staff. Savage Ganglar tries to escape by turning invisible, but he's suddenly hit with paint, the colors of which should look familiar. The Phantom Thieves are here to say hi, and Yellow tells him that he can't pull the same squid over their eyes twice. Blue then points out that he's an octopus. I don't know if that's like a specific joke in Japanese, but I just wanted to point that out because I like Umika's reaction.
I have to point out how Overtime handled this.
Okay, was it better?
Umika says, "You're trying to pull the same trick on us twice, you gotta be squidding me." And then Toa does that, he's an octopus. Oh.
See, I appreciate that because while that's definitely not the pun that would have been in the original Japanese, it makes more sense to do it that way.
Right. It's absolutely the sort of thing Umika would say.
Yeah. Like, that's the important thing about translation. The intent got across, and then, like, the overall joke is still there, but, like, I don't get what the joke would be if it's squid over our eyes.
Yeah, I guess it's just, like, a phrase like pulling the wool over your eyes. It's just an idiom.
Yeah, an idiom that we are not familiar with at all. So it doesn't really
Hey, Jenner, you
us.
watch this show. You tell us.
Without even Kaito changing, the Phantom Thieves charge in and open Savage Ganglar's safe. 3, 7, 1, and take the filer comme le vent. They then tell the cops that they can handle the rest. Yellow merely grapples away, but Red fucking kicks Savage Ganglar in the groin before leaving.
Kyrie's a little shit in this fight. He also, like, just opens fire on the cops to buy, breathing room for Umika.
Yep. But yeah,
he's smiling the whole time.
I just love, as he says, the rest of this is on you, he then just immediately kicks the Ganglar off screen. Blue, however, just sort of walks forward for a second and then takes out Goody and tells him to help the Pat Rangers, since Nigu has personal business with this guy. Then he grapples away. I will admit, the first time we watched this, I was really hoping he was just going to walk all the way off screen, and that's just how it was leaving. The Pat Rangers activate Pat Ranger Ugu. Ugo! It's Ugo!
I think it's Yugo.
Ugo, what? It's not Ugu.
Right, I didn't mean to correct you like that. I meant like...
I know it's one of the two, but God, please. I'm not trying to do this as a run-on joke like with the Gangler names. I'm genuinely fucking this up every time.
Put quotation marks around the U, so you'll know it's to be pronounced and not pronounced. Hey, what do you call it when you say the letter of something instead of saying the sound that it makes?
Emphasizing the letter.
Okay.
The Pat Rangers activate Pat Ranger Yuko and proceed to beat the hell out of Savage Ganglar.
I'm really glad that Yugo is getting actual fights and is not just doing the finishing move.
Yep, they even managed to break his staff. But then, to finish him, they toss him skyward and one-hit strike him just before he hits the ground. I do like that, though. Like, also, he does fight, but it's a curb stop at this point. As usual, Ghosh moseys on in to revive Savage Ganglar, and then she leaves. The Pat Rangers activate the Pat Kaiser, and they get their lyrical theme this time. Giant Octopus turns invisible, since that is his natural power and all, which does throw off the Pat Rangers. But they decide to ruin his good strategy by changing out both arms. We then get to see Pat Kaiser Strong Biker, the full name instead of just Pat Kaiser Strong, which uses its yo-yo weapon to wrap around buildings randomly until it finally hits Big Octo. Now located, the Pat Kaiser grabs Big Octo with the crane arm and activates the Pat Kaiser lift-up strike. True to its name, Big Octo is lifted into the air by the crane and he's hit with the yo-yo. Before he dies, Big Octo gives a good sauce to go with Pickled Octopus. And then he explodes. With their mission completed, Sakia's mind turns back to the fact that he's going to be omnifired in an hour. Back at HQ, everybody looks sad, and both Saki and Hilltop are standing ready to be fired. Yanagami enters, and as everybody is prepared for the worst, Yanagami says, "Well done." Everyone's shocked as Yanagami continues on to being a disingenuous jackass as he says he always had high hopes for Sakia. He then shows everyone the headlines, because today the Pat Rangers are on the front page. They even received compliments from the French HQ. Sakia asks if he's still fired, and Yanagami just says that he never says that, and then glosses over everyone telling him that he did. Yanagami leaves in a strangely good mood, while the Pat Rangers are just as confused as ever. Jim pratfalls. The end.
Yanagami died on the way back to his office.
He has been a one-off character thus far, right?
Yeah, at least I don't remember him coming back.
Good.
Like, it's wild that there is a character that's that hateable in this show, because the characters usually aren't that bad.
I mean, I guess they wanted him to be that hateable.
Yeah, like this was done on purpose, but so far they've not done anything like that.
Yeah.
But anyways, that was a pretty good episode.
Yeah, I'm glad Sakia can have a good episode that doesn't have, well, anything episode 11 did.
Yeah, like as much as we dunk on Sakia because it's fun, I do like his episodes stand out a lot to me.
He's got good episodes.
I really do like them. Except episode 11, but that goes without saying. Alright, so, post-episode discussion. I still have stuff for this.
Alright, Ganglar first.
Yep, let's talk
other
about
than the fact that I don't think they ever mention his name, maybe?
Huh.
I actually kind of like him, because he's just this gangler that's kind of a shit.
Yeah.
Though, admittedly, I do really wish he had an interaction with Degranio, because, that honestly would have been pretty great if we did get to see a gangler who's not really focused on taking over the human world, and yet would probably impress Degranio anyway.
Yeah. It's sort of a weird thing where, like, since he doesn't care about impressing Negrano, he wouldn't go talk to him.
Yeah.
So, like, Daster would have to get him or something.
Hey,
But,
Degranio saw what you just did, and that ruled, and he's like, what? It did?
just like, who's Degranio?
I just
Your
want to cut
boss.
things in half.
Oh, yeah. That guy.
I just like cutting things in half. But yeah.
I just refer to him as Sakia's rival character. This is the Jetstream Sam.
But yeah, pretty entertaining for mostly just being, the setup for the episodes, as, most ganglers are. But I think he was more entertaining than the Baku.
Yeah, it's kind of fun to see a Ganglarv get, like, a personal grudge against Sakia because, like, Sakia made him look like a dumbass.
Yep. Sakia doesn't get many of these opportunities.
A lot of the Power Ranger Ganglars have, like, had grudges against them specifically.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how I didn't notice that the first time I watched.
I wonder if Zamigo's gonna have anything against Kaiichiro. Because he's passed by him, but Zamigo doesn't really seem like the type.
I heard you call me weird.
That is the one thing that can actually insult me.
How dare you?
Everything else will slide off, but that, no. But yeah,
Right, so he's...
other than that, Big Form was also okay, because he can turn invisible. Honestly, any Gangler that can, actually do damage to a Kaiser is halfway decent for a Kaiser fight.
And it gave Sakia another chance to puzzle solve.
Yep.
Alright, so that leaves us with the character development to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And that is Sakia. I remember reading on Tumblr there was at least one blog that reacted incredibly, confusedly to the opening of this episode, where Sakia actually gets to be cool.
I mean, I guess you could be confused by that, yeah. I could see that.
Yeah, it's weird because he just... Alright, he helped this woman because she was in danger. I think that's evident, especially from the way Sakia talks in the rest of the episode. But I'm still going to characterize it as Sakia shows off for a girl and nothing bad happens. Even for, us, it wasn't obnoxious the way that he was acting.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's also one of the few times where we actually see Sakia on a commute.
Mm-hmm.
Usually he's just the one that shows up late in the office.
Right.
He probably did.
Mm-hmm. Also, I'm not sure how much there is to this, but I remember mentioning in an early episode that Sakia's role in the team is usually filled by a female character, and that he's the peppy, happy-go-lucky character that brightens everyone's day.
Yeah.
And now we get to see his apartment, and he's into the manliest shit.
Yep.
Or the traditionally masculine hobbies.
Yeah.
And then it occurred to me, Tsukasa's kind of the same way. I think we sort of view her as a tired mom, but she's the police officer that's 6 a.m. in the morning, hasn't had coffee, and is not taking anyone's shit. That's normally a 40-year-old man in that role.
Yeah, we have, you had the two female rangers, and Tsukasa wouldn't fit the archetype, so yeah. And yet she's into, stuffed animals, more feminine things.
Yeah, and I'm not... And, honestly, this is a much better exploration of gender than episode 11. I guess that's why I wanted to bring it up. Again, I don't know if it says anything or culminates in anything, because I didn't take English classes in college. But I feel like there is something there.
Yeah, they're good details.
Yeah. And the show isn't about that. It's about fighting the Ganglar, so it's hard to culminate in anything, really, but...
Yeah, it won't culminate in anything, but it is neat.
Yeah. And it's just... I really do like Sakya when he is just like this. Also, I believe we mentioned in an earlier episode to just treat the Power Rangers like they're paladins. And Sakya's struggle in this really feels like a paladin decision.
Yeah, because...
It's like, do I help people now and give up my ability to help people later?
Yeah.
And it's also like, hey, they managed to find a plausible reason for a cop getting fired. He assaulted his boss.
Yep.
If only he assaulted Kairi instead, they'd have never fired him.
Yeah, that's just about the only thing that would have done it. I would also like to mention, though, that Hilltop gets some similar development in this one, though, that even though Saki is the main focus of it, Hilltop also has to make the same decision.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do I allow this, or do I go with what Yanagami says? Even knowing full well that he's probably going to get fired. Again, I love his actor in that one scene, because at that point he's just an acceptance, like, yeah, that's the end of my job.
Well, that was nice. Time to go tell my wife that I've been fired. I'll have to go back to doing children's comedies.
But yeah, I do think it's kind of nice that, like, one of the background characters got to have prominence and pretty similar episode arc to what the main character of the episode got. Because even when Jim has been more prominent, you know, he's been there, but he's not really developed. Like the episode where he had to disguise as Ganglar. Great episode. Don't know if Jim really learned anything from that.
Right. Yeah, the minor characters in the show are really good. It's like, we love to shit on Kogure, but that's part of, like, him being a good character is our ability to shit on him.
Yeah.
Like, he exists. He's there. He doesn't just blend in with everything else.
Yeah.
And Hilltop is just great, and I wish he could be my boss, but I don't want to be a cop.
Yeah, whereas, like, Yanagami, honestly, I'm like legitimately glad he's not a full character, because I can't really imagine they'd want to give him any good traits.
Right.
Because bad people exist, and I understand that. I just don't want them to be regular characters. And, like, Yanagami is just, again, he's disingenuous. He's terrible.
He is just the worst boss you could possibly have.
Yep.
Just totally capricious and arbitrary, and I hate him.
Yeah, just if you're slipping, then you are about to fall off that cliff with him. But if you do okay, you're the best. You're great. Couldn't do any wrong. So yeah,
it's just heartbreaking when he just refuses to let go of Sakya. It's like legitimately sad to see Sakya try and talk back even a little.
Yeah, because Sakya has one rival in this episode, but you know what? Yanagami also gets pretty close, because he does not get off Sakya's case until the end.
Then he vanishes, hopefully never be seen again. Unless he shows up in episodes I haven't seen, or I just forgotten about him.
Other than that, I'm glad that Sakya didn't get too angry with, like, that moment where nobody believed in him, because that was upsetting, but also he's not a jerk and he doesn't hold Kaichiro and Tsukasa. He doesn't hold that against them.
Yeah, it's like, it's totally understandable why they wouldn't believe him.
Yeah. But
he seems more upset that, like, his story is so unbelievable rather than that they don't believe him, I guess.
Yeah. And, like, I legitimately feel bad for him in this situation. It does suck a lot. Because Kaiichiro's mad and Tsukasa won't believe him either.
Right.
And he's just confused.
Oh, God.
Alright, and I think that's all I have for this episode. What about you?
Yeah, I can't think of anything. I've already praised Sakya's adherence to protecting people over protecting his job.
Yep.
Just it's like really scary anytime a cop is like, I don't want to follow the book on this one. It's like, I wonder why you want to do that, buddy.
Yeah, like, other media where it's like, yeah, you're a loose cannon, play by the book. Oh no, that's actually bad. Don't romanticize this. But no,
Hey, Blue Bloods, fuck off.
Here it's, oh no, my superhero cop friends are going to die because they don't know they're fighting an invisible enemy, except I'm under house arrest. But you know what? My boss sucks, so I gotta get out there.
Yeah. And it's just nice for him to prioritize other people over his job.
Yeah.
It's like, that's the thing that separates Sakia from real cops, is that Sakia doesn't necessarily care about being an officer, he just cares about his ability to help others.
Yes.
And he only cares about being an officer to the extent that he can help others.
Yeah, he's not disobeying to hurt people, he's disobeying to help them. That's good.
Yeah, compare that to the average power-tripping sociopath. But, yeah, I don't think there's anything else to say. I guess we could go to predictions, but...
Well, it's not like there's really that much to predict story-wise, since, it's kind of an isolated episode. We didn't really get anything relating to the collection, that
Right.
sort of thing. But while I know we said we weren't going to talk about the episode previews, but then we ended up doing so anyway multiple times.
Yeah, I think this is, don't expect us to talk about the next episode previews, but sometimes we can't contain ourselves.
Yeah, like this one, for example, because we're about to watch this and I'm getting excited for that. We're getting introduced to a new character.
He's
Live on
here.
X.
I believe you mean Pat Ran X.
Pat Ranger X, yeah. Because the point is, he's playing both sides, baby. And
We're finally going to meet the actual best character on this show.
And man, if you've seen the preview, having watched it again, he spends most of his time in motion, in particular a circular motion, by which I mean flipping constantly.
He spends a solid 10% of his screen time doing backflips.
So yeah, let's finish up this episode so that we can actually watch that. I'm ready now.
Alright, that's it for this episode. If you want to follow us on Twitter, we are at LRVSPR. Fafner is at Fafner Masamune. If you want to email us, you can email us at LupinRecap@PatReview@gmail.com. And we will see you in the next episode. Adieu.